It will be recorded for posterity. You know, these video recordings that they're doing, there's hundreds of them on YouTube and Facebook and places like that. Please try and sit still. Try and sit still. There's hundreds of them on Facebook, YouTube, you know, which go in depth into all the things that I talk about. And somebody once told me there's over 400 of them on YouTube, you know. It's like a resource that maybe a lot of your questions can get answered and stuff like that. I suggest using it. You can go there through my website. You can go there through YouTube, Facebook. I mean, I'm not a big social media person, you know, and I don't really do much with it. But students of mine have recorded all these things and they've uploaded them on different social media venues. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask? You know, I got a phone call earlier. I'm not sure how many of you know John Mann, but he was close to Rudy, student of Rudy's. We've known him for many years, and he passed on today. You know, he's in the cosmos, he's with God. So I just, you know, if you could say a little prayer for him and find him in your heart. I mean, most of you probably don't even know who he is. He wrote a book called 14 Years with My Master. It was about his experiences with Rudy. And I got a call from Bob. So funny, about a week ago, I had this intuition that I was going to get a call from Bob Singh telling me somebody close to Rudy passed on. And that call came today, and it happened to be John Mann. I mean, John was 93, 94 years old. He was an old man. But he was a sweet guy and, you know, meant well. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
I don't have a question. This is Melissa. But I've been sitting with John Mann for, I don't know, almost a year online. And I just saw him on Saturday for class. And his classes were always extraordinary. And he's just a beautiful, sweet person that I'm really grateful to have gotten to know. You're sitting with. And so thanks for sharing. I didn't know that he passed. I really appreciate him.
Well, that's great. You know, I'm of the school that no matter who you can get your teachings from and learn from, there's no competition in this world. A lot of teachers do have competition, no, but there really is no competition. I mean, Rudy always said a great student can turn a lousy teacher into a great teacher. And I really, you know, believe that. So there's no competition. There are many different people that teach, you know, different aspects of Rudy's work. You can learn from all of them, and I'm not in competition with anybody. I'm just grateful that people can find a path to grow. They can have a spiritual life, you know, and whatever does it for them, that really is what their karma is, and that's very important. Yeah, John passed on today. I mean, I didn't know it either until Bob called me and told me this. I had a sense of it, as I told you, I had that feeling that I was going to get a phone call like that this week. Does anyone else have a question? I mean, I've sat with many teachers in my life, in India and America. I mean, nobody supplanted Rudy because nobody had, in my life anyway, had the energy, the compassion, the depth of teaching that he had. So he became the root guru. And after I met him, I stopped going to a lot of teachers. I did. I went to teachers in India. And it was very difficult to find anybody that even got close to what Rudy was teaching, or that Rudy had taught me. I mean, the closest was, Rinpoche, Kala Rinpoche. It was very dear to me and has a very real place in my heart. And I had teachers like Ramakrishna and Ramana Maharshi. I remember Ramana Maharshi, who took his samadhi, I don't know, 75 years ago. We're going to where he lived in a cave in Tiruvannamalai. And I said, Baba, I want to go live in a monastery. And I'm so tired of all this stuff I have to deal with, in life. He just screamed at me, your work is in the world. And I'm sitting in this cave that's completely full of light. His soul force is sitting in front of me. Your work is in the world. Your temple is life. Your ashram is life. And your work is to find the sacred nature of life. And the good, the bad, the indifferent, the ugly, whatever it is, you have to find the sacred nature of life. And to recognize that the best you can attain in this world is being a servant to the people that study with you, and a servant of God. Go back to life. You'll never survive in an ashram. And I ran ashrams, and I understand what that's all about. And for 20 years I was running, 30 years, ashrams and meditation centers, with students all over the world. And one of the things it taught me doing that is that the real temple is life. Real enlightenment is finding the sacred nature of life. I mean, I mentioned it the other day, and I'm reading this book of poems by Rumi, and that's what it's all about, finding the sacred nature of life. Even in all the things you don't like, and all the bullshit and dirt and ugliness of life, you got to find the sacred nature of life. That is such an important step in enlightenment. Not in religion and not in, following sex and all this stuff. Just one's ability to sit in front of the greatest guru there is, which is life. And my job is not to be your guru. I don't want to be anybody's guru. I mean, what a bore. My job is to truly help people build systems inside that are strong enough for them to sit in front of the real guru, which is life. I mean, Rudy told me that just 15 minutes before I left to go live in Denton, Texas. He said, if anyone ever asks you who the guru is, just tell them the guru is life. It's one of the greatest things he ever taught me, and it took me 20 years to learn what he was talking about. When you accept this kind of thing, then you have to bear total responsibility for your spiritual life, because you're the only one who can make this possible by doing the kind of depth of work inside that allows the sacred nature of life to manifest. And nobody's more important than anybody else. It's all bullshit. It's all ego. It's all the garbage that keeps the water from draining down the pipes. Does anyone have a question? Anyone else have anything?
have a question.
Yes.
Once you've centered yourself in the hara and you split some attention to the base of the spine, and I know you've talked about it 100 times, but can you talk more in depth about that specific part of the meditation?
This will be the 101st.
Yeah.
So it's a very important subject. So, look, the chakra system is not going to develop in a human being unless you build the very core of your being foundation, the chi. That foundation, as I've said 101 times, is located in the chakra that's just below the navel. The Chinese call it the Tian, the Japanese the hara. In Hinduism is the third chakra. It's that chakra below the navel. It also has a name in Hinduism, I can never remember. And then when you draw energy through the sexual area, it's like a form of alchemy that transforms the human to the spiritual. As I've said many times, Tantra is about, not about so much about eroticism. It's about the union of the male-female principle in a human being. The bringing together of those two forces. And by bringing together those two forces in the sexual area, it gives birth to the Kundalini, which then rises. The Kundalini is like one's pathway to enlightenment. So by developing the hara, we can then draw that energy. And at the same time, to keep us from becoming dictators and all-powerful kind of creatures that dictate the lives of other people, we have to keep our hearts open. Because as soon as the heart is open and there's gratitude, there's humility. And one is not so important. One is humble. One is a child of God, kissing the foot of God. So all of these chakras work together. What interferes with the process is the ego, the mind, conflict in the mind, all of that razzle-dazzle, logistically figuring out the world, all this stuff that people do. That takes them only to one place, and that's the grave. But building chi, building that power in the third chakra, the hara, gives us the strength to keep the heart open, gives us the strength to keep the throat open, so that when we communicate with other human beings, there's compassion, there's love, there's understanding, there's forgiveness. The mind is quiet. And when the mind is quiet, understand we can receive God's wisdom. We can receive knowledge. Not intellectual knowledge, but knowledge comes from the source of everything created in the universe. Knowledge that comes from the Om sound, which is literally the voice of God in the universe, that can enter us because we are no longer interfering with it. So all of these chakras work together, but the key to developing the entire chakra system is building chi, building the chakra right below the navel. That gives you the strength, the balance, the rootedness inside, to sustain openness in every chakra. And the energy, look, so many people, they're even afraid to talk about the sexual energy, in so many religions, it's like so verboten, it's so forbidden, to even mention sexual energy. And it's just silly, The sexual energy is really the first place where the male-female principle unifies. And this doesn't happen because people seduce other people or use their ego and charm, to manipulate other people sexually and otherwise. It happens because we have developed a system that organically allows this to happen. then you see all those Tibetan Yabyum statues, male, female. That's what it's all about. That's all it's all about. Like Khajuraho, you know, I mean, my God. I don't know if any of you have ever been to Khajuraho in India. Temples are all erotic temples, you know, but that's what it's about. It's the use of eros, it's the use of sexual energy to, first of all, unify the male-female principle, the Yabyum, and then that union, that harmony and balance inside, it enables the Kundalini to be born, to rise. And what's wonderful about this is all of this exists in every human being. The only reason you come to some person like myself is to learn how to do it. That's it. Not to be a disciple or, you know, all this bullshit, you know, a sannyasa and blah, blah, blah. But it's to learn how to do it, to get that training that enables you to build the kind of inner strength that I'm talking about.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question? I just want to announce to you all that I've begun having in-person classes again here in New York. I mean, we're wearing masks today. You know, just got over COVID, so, but that'll change soon too. All I ask is that people are vaccinated, the booster shots, and they come and they do this responsibly, you know, with really not only protecting themselves, but protecting other people. I mean, I had 2 vaccinations, 2 boosters. I never went out of the house, and I still got that COVID thing. But it was so minor. It was less, you know, less deadly than a flu, you know? I mean, it wasn't, so all of that stuff, if it doesn't keep COVID away, at least it keeps you from going to the hospital and dying, you know? Does anyone else have a question? Okay, God bless you all. Thank you. And there'll be a class on Wednesday, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. Goodness you. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad you feel better.
Thank you.
Good night. Good night, Stuart. Thank you.
Good night.